Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in wager bucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
How's it going, guys? Happy Monday. Welcome back right here to WagerTalk TV for another episode of Puck Time. I'm Andrew McInnis, and the boys are back. Carmine Bianco is back alongside me. Just 3 games on tap for today, so just going to be Carmine and I for today, and we'll get back to having a guest on for tomorrow with Buster Sports joining us. Carm, pretty entertaining weekend in the NHL. I was actually pretty low volume this weekend, just had some NFL stuff and the one UFC play, but how was your weekend? And also, welcome home, man. Welcome back to the Great White North.
Yeah, you know what? It's I'm glad to be back at my desk as opposed to in a room trying to do the shows. I didn't do Thursday and Friday show, Andrew, and it's just as well. It was the worst Wi-Fi days in at the resort where we were at. I think with so many people coming in and the Wi-Fi getting used, it was absolutely horrible. So it would have been a logistics nightmare for our producers and for you guys listening to me basically crack up on screen. It would be like I was in Mexico with Buster or something during last year's NHL season. But yeah, quite. Let me tell you, all sports yesterday. I traveled back yesterday. I didn't have Wi-Fi for a great part of Sunday, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because I looked at some of the scores. I finally got Wi-Fi the last hour of my flight, and I looked at some of the scores, and my God, what an absolute bloodbath in everything. Whether it was soccer, whether it was NFL, whether it was NHL. I saw some of the scores, and if you made money yesterday out there, guys in the chat, you made money betting sports yesterday, good on you, because some of those scores were absolutely unbelievable. And then NHL, I had no NHL plays up on Sunday, but some pretty good surprises in the NHL as well too. So maybe not having Wi-Fi saved me a little bit of money, Andrew.
Sometimes it works out that way, Carm. So I'm happy it worked out that way. You said you got some Wi-Fi just at the end of your flight there, but happy to have you back, man. Just 3 games going on. I want to throw it back to you and just ask what you have going up for this week. It's $9 Monday across both websites. Every single play is just $9. And huge thanks to all of our new customers that joined us last week when every single package was 50% off. But $9 Monday, every Monday, we have our plays out for $9, no matter what the play is. What do you have up for today, Carm?
Yeah, just a couple NHL plays that I do like. It's a very short card. No soccer for the next 3 days. It's the international break, and there'll be games Thursday through to next Tuesday. Tomorrow on stoppage time, I'll have a very good promo to get a 7-day soccer all access package, but I'm not going to release any plays on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just for the sake of releasing plays. It's the lesser leagues. I don't follow them. I don't have a good database on them, so I'm not going to put out any plays. My next soccer play will come on Thursday, so it's pretty much just NHL and some football.
Great stuff. Yeah, you guys are going to get all of our, a lot of our hockey opinions here, but I do have some best bets going up at WagerTalk. But an NBA day, busiest day for me in the NBA so far, Carm, on this young season. Starting to heat up a little bit in the NHL on the ice, 13-6 run. We'll try and build on that tonight on this short card. But tonight, guys, we do have 3 games. Those games are the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers, which will be our first game, Buffalo and Washington, and the nightcap, the Los Angeles Kings and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's start off with our first game. We have the Rangers and the Florida Panthers. Rangers at home at MSG plus 105 here. Road favorites for the Florida Panthers. And this Panthers team, they are just continuing to dominate, Carmine. It's just unbelievable to watch. They always had so much talent. I said that I thought Barkov was so underrated. But now we're starting to see they got contributions from all over the ice. And great goaltending, man. Whether it's Sergei Bobrovsky or it's Spencer Knight, they're getting the job done. And, I remember when I was growing up, Carm, it used to be pretty much like the backup goalie and the starting goalie. It was like an 80-20 ratio. And now with the Florida Panthers, it's like one game one game the other. It's like they have both goaltenders they can rely on and count on. And I think it's been huge for their team so far. And the Rangers, there's a theory for this game. Can you guess what this is for the Rangers? A theory, that we use across lots of sports, because the Rangers did have a road trip, Carm, and I'm looking to fade them here at home.
Yeah, Andrew, listen, I'm a little shocked at that last game that the Rangers played, the end of their road trip in Calgary. I had under 5.5 in that game. And if you told me the Rangers weren't going to score, I was going to tell you that bet is going to cash 95 out of 100 times. You're not losing an under 5.5 if one team doesn't score. But unfortunately, Calgary scored 2 in the last, I think, 5 minutes or so when they're already up 4-0 and win that game 6-0. It's a tough one to swallow, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's the first game off a 4-game. You want to call it a Western road trip, but the last 2 games against Edmonton and against Calgary are obviously mid-Canada trips. That flight from Calgary back to New York is maybe a 90-minute flight, I would have to guess, something along that. So it's not a huge one as opposed to coming back from the West Coast, but still only a day off a 6-0 loss. You have to figure, to use a phrase to make me sound a little old here, but the bee is in the bonnet. These guys losing 6-0, there's got to be a little bit of pride on this team, but it is the first game back against a very good Florida team that just knocked off the undefeated Carolina Hurricanes. So, but here's my problem, Andrew. You look at the line, and maybe I'm overthinking it. Panthers minus 118, playing a team at home, 1 day's rest off a road trip, and they seem like they're begging you to bet the Panthers at this line of minus 115, minus 118, minus 120, wherever it's at right now. I'm not so sure I want to get to the window right now on the Panthers, although they seem like the play. You just go with the team that is hot right now, and they are the team that's hot. The Rangers aren't. They've allowed 15 goals in the last 3 games of that road trip after opening up with a win over the Kraken 3-1. If it's Shesterkin in net, he's going to be better this time out. I just think it's a low-scoring game here, and maybe the Rangers sort of reverse that trend that we like, Andrew, which is betting against a team in their first one home off a road trip, because it has been a profitable angle, and we'll talk about that a little later on when we discuss the third game of our 3 games today. But for me, I'm not going to say the Rangers are a live dog. I just don't think that I want to get to the window with the Panthers here right now. I'll likely I'll look at the under here, just as the Rangers sort of tighten the screws defensively, because losing 6-0 is not a good look on this team, and that's on the heels of losing 6-5 to the Edmonton Oilers.
Great stuff, Carmen. And I'm right there with you with your thoughts on that, because I think that this team, their identity is going to be winning these low-scoring games. They have great goaltending. They're supposed to have great two-way players, and throughout this road trip, besides that game against the Kraken, like you said, we didn't really see that. And that theory we're talking about, one thing I find interesting, I was talking with someone last week about this, Carmen, and I want to get your thoughts on this because it makes a lot of sense. Montreal is a hard team to use as an example right now, but this happened with them, so I will use them. A lot of the times people say fade a team off a road trip in their first game back at home. But one interesting angle is fade a team in their first game back at home on a successful road trip. It might be a little bit of a different fade if they're off a poor road trip. They're not really feeling themselves. They're not really feeling that great about themselves if they're off a losing road trip. So I wanted to get your thoughts. Does that theory change for you, whether it was successful or unsuccessful?
I don't think it really should, but I do get where you're coming from with that. I think I like to look at the teams, sort of that stat independently of how the teams do, how they normally fare off road trips. You can go back over the last couple seasons. Those statistics are always readily available, and see how a team performs off a 4-game, 5-game, 6-game road trip, because there are a lot of scenarios, especially in this, since sort of the last 2 COVID seasons, we'll call them, and some of the teams that there were bigger or longer road trips, just because they wanted to keep that travel from, two at home, two away, two at home, two away. They wanted to avoid that over the last couple of years. So there's some good numbers and statistics that you could put together just based off the last two seasons of stats. And we talked about it last year as well, too. I'm more likely to play a very good team returning home off a road trip as opposed to a bad team returning home off a road trip. That's just me. Those are the sort of the numbers that I looked at over the last couple of years. Case in point, let's say the Sabres returning home off a Western road trip, and then they're at home, but playing another bad team. Do I want to take fade the Sabres? Maybe not. We'll talk about the Sabres in a second. Maybe that's not the best example, but there are ones out there. The Leafs returning home off a road trip where they lost 3 or 4 and playing at home. Would you take them, Andrew? You likely would take them against a bad team. I think each game is independent of itself, and that's what we have to look at when we're looking at these teams off road trips. And the longer the road trip, the better number that you should be able to get.
It's a great point. Every single scenario is different. It's nice to kind of look at these theories and have some systems that you look for. But to Carmine's point, every single scenario is different, and we want to look at things, from an matchup standpoint and a team-by-team standpoint. Once again, guys, I hope you guys all had a great weekend and lots of success on the ice. We appreciate you tuning in, whether it's live or archived. Make sure you guys also check us out on podcast form, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, everywhere. You can check us out. WagerTalk, all podcasts are recorded in podcast form. Leave a like button if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Carm, let's jump into our next game. We've been talking about these next games we have going on, and we did discuss a little Buffalo team there that's plus 205 as an underdog tonight. Totals at 5.5. The Capitals are at home, a whopping minus 255 here. The puck line for them is pretty much minus 110, 105 across the board here. Buffalo, we're a little bit farther into the season now, Carm. What have your thoughts been about them recently?
Well, Andrew, let me tell you this. Can you hear that noise? If you don't hear that noise, let me tell you what that noise is. It's the bottom falling out of the Sabres season, as I said it would normally or eventually happen. It was a good start by the Sabres, but you knew it wasn't going to last. This is a team that was projected to have the lowest points total in the NHL at 67.5 points. And they likely may still go under that number. They're going to go in spurts, but their win streak or their losing streak spurts are going to be so much longer than any of their win streak spurts that they're going to have. And they're in the middle of one now. 4 straight losses this team has had. And against who? Not the NHL's elite, LA Kings, San Jose Sharks, Seattle Kraken, Detroit Red Wings. It's not like they're playing the Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay, Boston, Toronto, Edmonton, the Colorado, whatever, the elites. They're losing games against teams that you would think that they could possibly pick up points against, and they're just not doing it. And now they play a hurting Washington team that is in need of a win. They've lost, 4 of their last 5. That last one, while it seemed like they played well, they still lost against the Flyers at home. I just don't see how you could ever, even if you gave me plus 250, plus 300 on Buffalo, where I would take them in this spot, because I just don't think if they play 10 times, they're winning 3 of them in this scenario. So I don't think it's a money-making scenario to take here. Last year, 6-2 for Washington in this series. The over was 5-2-1 in that. We're seeing a lot of 5.5 totals here, just because we've seen some lower scoring games over the last few weeks, and I think books are starting to adjust to it. This Capitals team isn't scoring a lot of goals, but this is the type of game where you just turn around that negative losing streak, or the losing streak that they have right now. I'm talking about with regards to Washington. Sometimes you need what's called a gimme, and maybe the Sabres are a gimme right now. I just don't see how you could take the Sabres tonight. Even if they were to win, there's just no way I could ever get to the window on the Sabres. Washington on the puck line is probably the only way to go, because I can't lay 255 on a team in the NHL either. I never lay a price that high. So give me Washington on the puck line, minus 1.5, minus 105, and I'll look for them to get one back in the win column tonight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Carm. And, I didn't want to take anything away from what Buffalo did at the start of the season because they were playing well. But, I like to kind of break the season up into increments of 5 to 10 games. And, we kind of have to change our opinions on each team. We can have our preseason projections and stuff like that. But there was a point where Buffalo was competing. And then they kind of, like you said, great point by you, that it's not like those losses they just recently took were from the league's elite. And it wasn't even like they were highlight reel goals getting scored against them either. It was just them getting outworked. And as you know, lately I've been trying to check these analytical numbers quite a bit and getting involved in the stats. And what's funny about the Buffalo Sabres, Carm, is that they have so many advanced numbers that are just slowly starting to fall off. But their shooting percentage at one point was way above average in the league, much higher than it should be. And there's teams that you're going to see these shooting percentages. And what's cool, some websites will give you the availability to look at last 3 days, last 10 days, so on and so forth. And you can see, okay, is this team, scoring more goals than they should be? And that's kind of what happened with the Buffalo Sabres. And right now I'm with you with the Capitals. This could be a real good spot for them to get right. And sometimes you play a team like the Buffalo Sabres, and let's be honest, Carm, it's like, you know what, we're going to get in here and just breeze to a win and take it, easy out the gate. Not like the players want to do that, but sometimes it happens. But I think in this game in particular, they're going to show up.
Yeah, Andrew, and you make an excellent point there, and sort of like you looking at the analytics part of it. When a team well, it actually goes both ways. When a team overperforms to what their numbers are, as you said, outscoring their expected goals or underperforming, it is usually a good sign if you can track those numbers, because at some point those arcs are going to cross, and
Right.
that's where you make your money. It's in every sport. I use it a lot in soccer or football per se in Europe, where a team underperforms, and at some point those arcs do cross. It's not consistent throughout the year. It's going to change. And this is the thing with the Sabres. They were playing above their heads. Maybe they had a chip on their shoulders with the whole Eichel thing of he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be part of this franchise, and it's next man up, and we're playing. But as I said, once those Sabres got a couple losses, that mood in the dressing room changes, and now Eichel is gone. So there's not even that. And I just think at some point the losses are going to continue to pile on for this team. They're going to have spurts of losing 7, 8 games in a row. Their win streaks are going to be 2, 3 games in a row. And that's how you end up with a team that finishes with less than 67.5 points over the course of a year. To use the phrase that I love to use, at some point, and maybe it's now, they're going to become the free space on the bingo card. Which, Andrew, speaking of which, we got a text from Dave Koken. Love Dave Koken. He sent us this one last night, but I didn't see it till this morning. And I think it's the 2010-2011 season, Arizona started 0-10-1, and then signed Wedgwood off of waivers, and in his first start gets Arizona their first win of the season. Well, flash forward to the 2021 season, 0-10-1. They sign Wedgwood off of waivers. He plays in the first game for them and gets them their first win of the season. Interesting stats. They just keep signing Wedgwood every 10 years or so, and they'll pick up a win. So they are no longer the free space on the bingo card as they get their first win of the season.
At least for that day, they weren't. Maybe they will be again tomorrow, but at least for that day, They weren't that free space. It's a super cool stat there, Carm. Maybe every team that just starts off winless should just go pick up Wedgwood for their first win and then release him again. But I wanted to just say real quick, because we were talking about the expected goal stuff, and you brought up that game, which was the Coyotes' first win. Super interesting, Carm. Philip Grubauer, who played for the Avalanche last year. The expected goal numbers for the Arizona Coyotes in their first victory of the season, you know what it was when they scored 5 goals? It was 1.25 expected goals. And Philip Grubauer allowed 5 goals on the game. So you and I are talking about looking at some of these numbers and how we want to perceive them. That's the kind of interesting game where Arizona just needed a break. They needed a goalie to have a game like that, because the fact that Seattle was supposed to win that game 2.5 to 1.25 were the expected goal numbers. but yeah, Arizona puts up 5. That should tell us something about at least what we're seeing from Seattle and their poor defense, if that was the expected goals and those were the goals that they scored.
Yeah, it's crazy, but those are the games that sometimes happen, and you're left sort of shell shocked of what did you do wrong in handicapping the game. And what Andrew's telling you, and what I'm telling you, is use some of these analytical sites after the game to look at the stats, and if the team you bet on had the better high danger chances, had the better goal expectancy, they just underperformed in the game, but the numbers show that they probably were the better team in that game and likely should have won based on the numbers. Teams don't always win based on the numbers. We know that, but it should help you not question what you're doing, because if you continue to do it long term, you'll win in this game.
Absolutely. And tonight, Carm, we do have some big favorites. Obviously, there's only 3 games, but we do have 2 big favorites here on the card. I want to just mention to people that if you're buying my NHL packages, I am including props in those. If it's a package with sides, totals, and props, I'm usually posting those every single weekday, or at least on the days with busy cards for me, because sometimes you have these minus 250s and you're wondering, okay, I like the favorite. How am I going to play it? And I'll tell you guys, I've been taking advantage of the prop market right now. And if I see a big favorite that I like, but I'm not comfortable with that puck line or laying the big number of over minus 200, like Carmine always mentions, isn't a good idea to do, I've been diving into these props. So just a heads up, all of you guys out there, if you do buy my plays and packages, you're going to get my prop wagers as well. And they've been pretty fun so far this year. I mean, last year I mainly did them in the playoffs, but this year we're kind of going full swing at it. It's going pretty well so far. But the LA Kings and the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're going head-to-head tonight. We've talked a lot about teams from the East Coast going to the West. Well, how about a team in the LA Kings heading to Scotiabank Arena in Toronto to take on the Leafs? The Leafs are minus 265 favorites. LA Kings plus 215. Totals at 5.5 here, Carmen. Well, you know, we see this Leafs team kind of get it going now, you know, in all types of different ways. They've now won 5 straight games, and not against weak teams either. You talked about earlier Buffalo losing games to, you know, teams that weren't the NHL elite. We got Toronto beating Boston, beating Tampa, beating a Vegas team, but they were banged up, you know, then Detroit and Chicago. But when I look at this Toronto team, I'll be completely honest, and you're going to laugh at me and think that I'm being a typical Andrew, you know, chirping at the Leafs, but it's true. They live and die by their star players. So when I look at the score sheet, and I don't even have to check to see if the Leafs won, because if Matthews and Marner or Nylander got on the board, I'm going to assume they won their game. If those guys don't score, they're not winning a game a lot of the time. And that's what I talk about with the prop market. I mean, with Tavares, you're getting plus 180. With Nylander, you're getting plus 175. I'm not saying you can't bet regulation, you can't bet puck line, but I'm telling you right now, this Leafs team has gotten together. They made some gutsy wins. They played real well against the Bruins, but in large part, it's these guys waking up. After Marner's goal he scored, his first goal he scored of the season, he bounced back, scored a highlight reel goal the next game, and now he's getting on the board with assists, goals every night, it seems. Matthews is looking good as well. It just seems like right now, Carm, this Leafs team is clicking. And the LA Kings, well, I think it's a good spot to fade them because they're probably feeling pretty good about themselves from their recent performances.
Yeah, listen, the Leafs are playing well. It's better than that 4-game spurt where they allowed 18 goals. And it looked like they were heading for a 5th straight loss against the Blackhawks before they turned it around and won that game in OT 3-2. Or else they would, you know, I think turning that game around and battling back from it sort of fueled them in their next few games, you know, beating Detroit and then a banged up Vegas team. But their last 2 games are really impressive. Tampa Bay and Boston, these are 2 teams that before sort of the COVID seasons, these are 2 teams that normally beat up on this Toronto team and just gave them fits. There were thorns in their side. So the Leafs get a couple good wins against those teams at the Scotiabank Arena. We'll see what happens when they got to travel to Tampa and to Boston. But that's sort of the true test as well, too, because those are teams that they're going to meet likely in the first round of the playoffs this year. But they're playing well right now. You've got to give them credit. That's why they're the price that they are. Laying 250 on the road is a big number to be laying. We look at this Kings team; they haven't won a game on the road yet. 16 to where is it? 16. I think 15-6 outscored on the road, but that's a little skewed. 2 losses in St. Louis, 7-3 and 3-0. But they haven't won a game yet, and we talked about that first game on the first game at home. They lost 4 games on the road, came home. They were an instant fade against the Winnipeg Jets, lose that game, but then they reeled off 4 straight wins at home: Montreal, Buffalo, St. Louis, and New Jersey Devils, winning the last 3 by 3-2 score lines. Much better defensively, and maybe that's why this total is at 5.5. Leafs are not a big road favorite, a big home favorite. I said road previously, but a big favorite. A 5.5 total for Toronto games. You want to just take the over just because this team is scoring, but this could be one of those games where Toronto wins 4-1. I just can't see the Leafs not winning this game. I think it's a game where you take the Leafs and maybe you take them on the puck line as well, too, just the way they're playing. But I think the interesting angle is he's confirmed now, Jack Campbell, making his start against his former club, the Kings. So that'll be interesting to see tonight. The 3 home teams have confirmed their goalies. It's Shesterkin, Vanacek, and Campbell for the 3 home teams. The away teams haven't named their goalies yet, that I know of, Andrew. But I can only look at this one way. The Leafs maybe in regulation time, the Leafs on the puck line. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, and as much as people have talked about Freddie Anderson playing well for the Hurricanes after leaving the Leafs, we got to give some credit to Jack Campbell, Carm. This guy's been outstanding. I haven't seen a lot of Maple Leafs games recently over the past several years, stay this low scoring consistently, or even the forwards are starting to back check quite a bit. So Dr. Chuck was on here with us, and he was talking about kind of being the contrarian and taking unders with these 5.5 totals. And I'm shocked to hear myself say this with a Leafs game with a total of 5.5, but I do lean towards the under in this game. And we talk about shooting percentage and teams kind of overplaying to what they really are. And I saw guys like Dustin Brown, Alex Iafallo, all of these guys playing a little bit above their means. And a phrase we started to use, and I heard it from Steve Merrill first, is don't try and catch a falling knife. So we always want to try and get on a team when they start to play well at the beginning of a streak. And it's something that you always say, Carm. But with the LA Kings here, they're going to pick up a few games here and there, and then they're going to start to slide again. And as much as I don't think that you're in your head actually thinking, okay, we're satisfied with ourselves, they had some real strong performances. And not against elite teams, don't get me wrong. But do you think the LA Kings really care about which teams they beat? They beat Montreal 5-2. They have a good battle against St. Louis. They've played them a few times already this season, and they've competed a lot in their past several games. Now they go on the road, and there's some teams here this season, and I talked about it with Seattle, where I'm specifically going to look to fade them on the road and maybe get some underdog spots with them at home. And I feel like that's what we'll see with the LA Kings, a little bit of a weaker team at home. And one thing to mention about that, Carm, that I often mention in the playoffs is that the home team gets the last change. And I think that really hurts this LA Kings team. They've got their top 2 lines are pretty solid. You've got Philip Deneau, who made a pretty good name for himself last year in the playoffs with the Canadiens. You know how he plays, Carm. He's very defensive forward. He's a 200-foot guy. And I think that when LA gets caught against Toronto tonight, with their third line out there and they ice the puck and Toronto gets to bring out their top guys, it's going to hurt them big time. It's going to be tough with them. So potentially mixing a 2-gamer in here with the Capitals and the Leafs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't blame you. Listen, the Kings are, again, it's 4 games. They're averaging a goal and a half on the road per game, but all against teams that can play some defense, the Predators, the Stars, and 2 games against the Blues. It's the thing with the Leafs. You look at it and you can come up with anything to fit a narrative, the narrative that you want to put out there. But the narrative here that I'm putting out there is you look at the Kings and you look at the Bruins and the Lightning, who combined scored 3 goals in Toronto in the last 2 games. And where do you put the Kings as far as offensive output and top 2 or 3 lines in comparison to those teams? You put them at the bottom of those three. The Bruins have scoring. Tampa has a wealth of scoring, and yet Toronto kept them at bay. So who knows? Maybe this is the start of some good or very solid defensive play by the Leafs. But they're playing well right now. And if they aren't complacent after those wins against Tampa and Boston, it's another game where they should get the win tonight and by a margin, I would think. I still can't get to the window on the total here, because if you like the Leafs and you think they're going to score, you might as well take the puck line. The last thing you want is you're like, okay, the Leafs are going to win. They're probably going to blow them out, and the game finishes 4-1. And the puck line cashes, but you're left with a loss on the total because you wanted the over, right? So I'm just going to stick with the puck line here on this one with Toronto.
Great stuff, Carm. Looking at the puck line in this one, and it's such a great point, because Maple Leafs beating teams like the Bruins or the Lightning is one thing, but beating them in low-scoring fashion, I think, is huge for the Maple Leafs. It's great on their defensive character. It's what they want to build on for the entire season, working into the playoffs. So great show, Carm. Good to have you back on here. For just 3 games, but nice to go back and forth, give our thoughts, and talk about some of these teams. Tomorrow is a much bigger card. We'll have Buster on. We're going to give some best bets at the end of that show. I'll break down 4 games tomorrow. But for tonight, let's give some best bets for tonight. I'll start with you, Carm, and remind everybody out there, check out Carmine over at wt.buzz/CB and get all his action. It's $9 Monday. Every single play up at WagerTalk is just $9. Carm, give us a best bet here for tonight, man.
Yeah, best bet. I'm going to go back to one of the games that we talked about, the Washington Capitals and the Sabres. I think if you chart the Buffalo Sabre games over the next 10 to 15 games, there's probably going to be about 10 losses in those 15 games at the very least. I think is a team that they're a sell team right now. So I'm going to fade the Sabres and take Washington, even though they haven't been playing well of late. This is a game where they can sort of turn around their mini slump that they're in. I'm going to take the Washington Capitals minus a goal and a half, minus 105. Only thing up right now, a couple of games in the NHL tonight. You can get those over at WagerTalk for only $9. I will be posting a play on $9 Monday shortly for the World Cup qualifying. It is a 5% soccer play. You'll be able to get that for $9 until midnight tonight.
Awesome stuff, Carm. And like I always tell you guys, if Carmine has a 5% soccer play up, you guys know what to do. Get to his play and check it out. Carm, I have to do it, man. I couldn't hold back, couldn't resist. I got to go here with the Florida Panthers on the money line. The price is too good. I know you were kind of giving a little sniff and saying it was smelling a little fishy, but I don't think it's fishy enough here. I think the Florida Panthers here are a team I want to get behind. I want to back. They're scoring goals. They're playing better defense. They're getting solid goaltending. And the Rangers, like you said, just 1 day rest. They had that road trip for them. I don't think the Panthers are an opportunity for them to bounce back and get right here at home. It's going to take a game or two for them to get it going. And I feel like we're getting a pretty generous price here on the Florida Panthers. And I'm looking forward to cashing a ticket with them tonight. Hope you guys all join me on my best bet here on Puck Time. NBA action up for me at WagerTalk. Also some NHL plays, but you kind of just heard the gist of what I do like for tonight here on Puck Time, guys. A recap of the power plays. I am on the Florida Panthers at a short price here on the road for them, and Carmine Bianco back in the host chair on Washington minus 1.5 on the puck line. Once again, guys, Buster Sports joins us tomorrow. It'll be Carmine, myself, and Buster. On behalf of Carmine, I'm Andrew, and we'll see you guys tomorrow right here on WagerTalk TV.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in wager bucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.